Hello, I am IT Sriram, third year BTech electronics student. Let's not waste time and get into the content. This is an introduction to series on computer, history of computers, how it changed our life, and how it going to change with new technologies being discovered. There will be 3 chapters, each consisting of its own subparts. First chapter is on history and complete evolution of computers. Second, we dive into current technologies. And third, it will be our journey, an attempt to contribute with knowledge we gain throughout the series. These videos will consist of many technical terms, but I'll try to make it as simple as I can. Coming to the first chapter, I would like to remind you all with this quote. Those who don't know history are doomed to repeat it. I'll be coming back to this point later. Let's start with the emergence of modern computing from the Alan Turing, aka father of computer science, who invented the concept of universal Turing machine based on which our modern computers are built on. He published a paper on computing machines in 1936. He was a young prodigy and used to see problems and challenges as if he is the first person to encounter it with. He believed that the computers were not just to be confined with numerical calculation but have applications beyond. Turing worked on breaking German code, including messages of Hitler himself, and were crucial for ending the World War II. This was done using Bomb Machine. I would recommend to watch the movie The Imitation Game for more about his life. Before, I need to clear how these computers used to look back then. They used to have vacuum tubes in place of modern transistors, which worked as the switching circuit, and the whole computers used to take up an entire room. Coming to the post-war period, Census Bureau in USA was facing challenges in processing the population data and needed an efficient way to process rather than relying on large number of manual labor. Here comes Eckert and Mouley, who convinced for a contract for commercial computer known as UNIVAC and signed for $350 back in 1946. Later, they realized that they underestimated the budget and faced many other financial problems. There were many twists and turns in the story, but in 1950s they had to sell it to Remington Rand, a typewriter and other accounting machinery company. They delivers the UNIVAC as per the contract, and it gets publicity by predicting the election result in 1952 better than human predictions. It became so popular that it was part of the mainstreams. IBM, who dominated the market back then, didn't actually show interest in computers, but it was Thomas Watson Jr. who recognized the threat of UNIVAC affecting their market value. And when he got into power after his father stepped down, Thomas Watson himself decided to enter into the competition. There used to be fear of job being replaced by computer, to which analysts back then said only those tedious and boring jobs were taken away. But it also witnessed boom in jobs in other manufacturing sector. First, IBM computers was not successful in market, but using their greatest weapon of strong salesmen, IBM 650 computers gained more popularity than Remington Rand's UNIVAC. Though these companies performed well in market, there was a common problem they all faced, which was lack of programmers. The job was not similar to the normal programmers we see nowadays. The work used to be tedious, and an error could cost them time and resource. Later, high-level programming languages like Fortran and COBOL were created for scientific and business purpose, which eased the process of programming. Computers started to gain popularity in various domains. Banks started to use computers for automating the task of bookkeepers, and many other industries followed this trend. Towards the 60s, transistors revolutionized the computer market. They were smaller, lighter, and efficient than vacuum tubes. And later, ICs took it to another level of miniaturization and reduction of cost. But they were not seriously taken until NASA used it for Apollo mission, which required a reliable computer system. Now we need to look into research done by Xerox Corporation on humanizing computer, for which they started Xerox PARC. This dedicated research center created computer which inspired from normal day-to-day interaction and had graphical interface for interacting with the computer. But despite their efforts, their product didn't succeed in the market. Before we get into the next set of inventions, we need to recollect how we started learning. We used to touch, feel, play around with what we came across. Paradigm of manufacture started to change. They started to make computers something with the features and tools we could play around and we could learn ourselves by exploring without feeling guilty like a child. The youth were dreaming of having personal computers in their room. Here comes two hobbies, two Steves, Steve Wozniak and Steve Jobs, who played a crucial role in making it accessible to millions. They got inspired from the works of Xerox PARC Lab, including graphical user interface and mouse. IBM, still being the corporate giant, introduced Altair 8800 in 1975. It was a kit which could be used to make your own personal computer. This rise in personal computers led to increase in computer clubs, which in turn brought up different ways to use computers for various purposes. Later in 1980s, Macintosh released by Apple, which was a game changer which made them a challenger to IBM's dominance. Later we saw a new era where intuitive interfaces for different purposes came. It was the software that had to be worked on rather than the hardware. With the same hardware requirement, different software with different interfaces could be run. Children of this era started to use it with ease, which initially started as something PhD scholars or skilled labor could use. As I mentioned before, the quote on history: those who don't know history are doomed to repeat it. We have plenty to learn from history, and it is right time to act so that we will be part of the future rather than being part of the history.